Welcome to our deep dive into the latest global news. We're pulling together what's happening across continents and trying to see how it all connects.
Yeah, it's quite a picture today.
We've been digging through a whole stack of sources, the majors like Reuters, the Wall Street Journal,
Hmm.
basically giving us a snapshot of the last, say, 10 hours as of July 14th, 2025.
Hmm.
And our mission really is to unpack this. Well, it feels like a swirling storm of economic and political tension,
Yeah,
mostly around these U.S. tariff threats, right?
yeah,
And the ripples they're causing.
that's right.
So you'll get the key pieces you need to understand what's going on. Let's try and unpack what it all means.
What's really striking, I think, is just how fast things are moving and how connected everything is. Incidents that seem separate, they're really not. We're
Yeah,
watching a pretty high-stakes diplomatic dance playing out, especially, as you said, in trade.
that's a great way to put it. A diplomatic dance. And the big news, the one grabbing headlines, is the EU. They've decided to pause those planned counter tariffs. 21 billion worth.
Right. And this is even as President Trump is still threatening that 30% tariff on EU goods, supposedly coming August 1st.
Exactly. So what does that tell us? What's their strategy? Is it caution, or are they trying to strengthen their negotiating hand somehow?
Well, it really suggests the EU is walking a tightrope here. They want to avoid escalating things right now,
Okay.
but they're also keeping their leverage. So it feels like a strategic pause, buying time, maybe signaling they're willing to talk, not just react.
Makes sense. And it's not just Europe in the crosshairs, is it?
No.
Trump's also added Mexico to this tariff watch list, talking about 30% on their imports too, citing drug smuggling concerns this time.
Yeah, and that, well, predictably has provoked quite a reaction in Mexico City.
I bet.
President Sheinbaum immediately condemned them, called them unjust, vowed to, defend national interests, trade autonomy.
Right.
It really highlights this growing pushback against these kinds of unilateral moves. And as you'd expect, it's sending a fresh wave of anxiety through the markets.
Yeah, you can feel that. And it's not just words either. Both Brussels and Mexico City are actively preparing defensive counter tariffs, just in case these talks go nowhere.
Exactly. It's like this giant chess match unfolding. Everyone's setting up their pieces.
But with real economies on the line, the pressure must be huge.
Absolutely. And you see the caution elsewhere, too. Even Gulf markets like Saudi and Qatari stocks, they're basically flat. Investors are just sitting tight, avoiding big moves because of all these U.S. tariff threats flying around.
So even with what some analysts are calling tariff fatigue, this idea that markets are getting kind of desensitized to the shocks.
All right, we hear that term a lot now.
But despite that, the underlying tension is still there, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's palpable. Analysts are warning that a real escalation, that could still hit stocks hard, especially in Europe and Asia. So this fatigue, it's probably more like a new, higher baseline of anxiety than actual indifference.
That's a really interesting point. And what's truly remarkable, maybe even a bit paradoxical, is that with all this tension, all this uncertainty, investors are actually pouring cash into high-risk assets. We're talking tech, gold, bonds.
Yeah, it is a curious mix, isn't it?
Markets seem jittery, but also opportunistic. What do you make of that?
It shows, I think, that while there's definitely apprehension, hence the move to safe havens like gold, there's also this belief in the resilience of certain sectors, like tech, and maybe a hunt for yield in bonds.
Okay.
It really speaks to a fragmented, almost contradictory investor psychology right now, people hedging their bets in multiple directions at once.
And layered on top of all these trade skirmishes, we're seeing some pretty significant diplomatic moves happening at the same time.
Right. It's not happening in isolation.
Like U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent skipping the G20 summit in South Africa to go to Japan's Expo instead. That feels pointed.
Extremely pointed. Skipping a big multilateral forum like the G20 for a bilateral visit, especially when Trump is also dangling 30% tariffs over South Africa if their policies don't change.
Wow.
It signals a clear reprioritization towards bilateral leverage, perhaps sidelining those traditional multilateral ways of dealing with global issues.
And in another sort of geopolitical realignment sign, we see NATO's Mark Rutte heading to Washington, meeting Trump, focusing on Ukraine arms support, reinforcing that U.S.-Europe military link.
Exactly. It shows these trade disputes are running parallel to crucial security talks and military strategies.
So it's all interconnected.
That's right. Economic leverage is just one tool in the box, isn't it? These relationships are complex trade, security, diplomacy, all woven together.
So we've covered a lot today, these tariff battles looming with the EU, with Mexico, the way markets are reacting, sometimes in surprising ways, and these key diplomatic plays happening alongside. It's clear these aren't just separate stories.
No, they're all part of this bigger unfolding narrative, international economics and politics maneuvering.
And here's what's really fascinating to me. Despite that tariff fatigue we talked about, and maybe some markets seeming desensitized, that underlying tension is absolutely there. You can feel it. And the rally in things like tech, gold, bonds, even amid all this, it suggests this really curious mix of jitters and opportunism among investors, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And if we step back and connect it all, the consistent theme seems to be this reassertion of national interests, of trade autonomy, often met with the threat of economic leverage like tariffs.
Right.
It raises a really important question, something for you listening to think about. In an economy as globally intertwined as ours, how much sovereignty can nations really assert? How far can they push before the costs just become too high for everyone involved?
A crucial question.
Definitely something to keep in mind as we watch these negotiations continue to unfold.